Billie Jean.
I like ice cream. I like tacos. Moi, j'ai aimé à jouer foot.
Red and pink are my favorite colors.
Off the wall. Thriller.
You want to sing one for us?
No.
Me gusta la gimnasia. I love my sister.
That's your brother, silly. You're a sister.
我最喜欢的颜色是紫色。
I like taekwondo. I am born to be a leader. We're twins.
My favorite color is dark blue.
I like to carry the torch for Special Olympics.
I am just like you. I'm just like you.
Io sono come voi.
I'm just like you.
我和你一样。
We're just like you.
我是西狗木团。
I'm just like you.
I am just like you. We are just like you. Soy como tú. I'm just like you.
I'm
just like you.
I am just like
You. I'm just like you. I like art.
My favorite song is Michael Jackson.
I make jewelry. I made this bracelet.
I like to read, eat, and sleep.
Mi piace la scuola, un pochino alla scuola.
I like to sing Smooth Criminal and Billie Jean.
I like ice cream. I like tacos. Moi, j'ai aimé à jouer foot.
Red and pink are my favorite colors.
Off the wall. Thriller.
You want to sing one for us?
No.
Me gusta la gimnasia. I love my sister.
That's your brother, silly. You're a sister.
我最喜欢的颜色是紫色。
I like taekwondo. I am born to be a leader. We're twins.
My favorite color is dark blue.
I like to carry the torch for Special Olympics.
Hi, my name is Molly Korte, founder of Project Just Like You. Project Just Like You began in 2016 in the fall after my son Jacob was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. I wanted a way to show that how Jacob was just like his peers, just like anybody else. And therefore, I just began sharing stories. This year, 2018, we started a new initiative, which is called Movement Monday. Movement Monday is to interview guests who are making a difference in the disability community, that are going out there and showing how we are all more alike than different and who are building inclusion. We are produced, by Fiat Media. You can check them out on fiatministrynetwork.tv, or you can check them out on Facebook at Fiat Ministry. If you'd like to be featured on Project Just Like You, we'd love to share your story. You can either email us at projectjustlikeYou@gmail.com, or you can message us directly, and we will make sure that you get featured on our page. The more stories, the more awareness we build, and we can only do that by working together. I hope you'll take a minute and click the share button and let your friends know what you're watching tonight. We're glad that you're here, and we're glad that you're spending your evening with us. Ask questions. We want you to be part of this discussion tonight. Anyone who asks a relevant question or comment during our live interview will win a Mercyhurst Raise the Roof for Autism or I Conquer apparel, which is really awesome. So make sure to ask questions, have comments, and again, we're glad that you're here. Tonight, we welcome our guest, Brad McGarry. Brad McGarry is the director of the Autism Initiative at Mercyhurst University, the third highest ranked program in the United States for impressive special college programs for students with autism. Throughout his career, Brad has passionately worked to raise awareness and support for autism, not only across the nation, but also internationally. Over the past years, he has testified before the 112th United States Congress, was nominated for the Temple Grandin Award through the Autism Connection of Pennsylvania, received the 2018 Milestones Resource Center Professional Excellence Award, helped develop 2 awareness campaigns, Conquer the Canyon with AIM, which is the Autism Initiative of Mercyhurst University, and Raise the Roof for Autism, and has been a featured speaker and consultant at venues across the United States and beyond. Brad was a contributing author to the published guide, Emerging Practices for Supporting Students on the Autism Spectrum in Higher Education. Brad is the Autism Initiative at Mercyhurst program. Brad and the Autism Initiative Mercyhurst program have been featured in the national documentary, This Business of Autism, The Chronicle of Higher Education, National Catholic Reporter, NBC's Today.com, C-SPAN, TED Erie, Forbes Magazine, Compass Indonesia, United Nations TV, MTV, Autism/Asperger Digest, and other articles and publications. Brad is happily married and a parent to 5 wonderful boys, Connor, Braden, Nico, Nate, and Mason. Wow, you have a busy home, Brad.
Yes, we do.
Boys.
Yes, we do, Molly.
Oh,
Yes.
my goodness. Well, welcome, Brad. We are so excited that you're here tonight.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, of course. We're glad that you're here. And I love all the work that you're doing up at Mercyhurst. So we are proud to have you on our show tonight, Brad. So, Brad, we want to start off first with what the Autism Initiative program is at Mercyhurst University. So can you just go ahead and give us a breakdown of what it is and what you guys are doing up there?
Sure. If we talk about the Autism Initiative at Mercyhurst, really there's 3 products that we offer. The first is a summer college readiness program. We call that program CREATE, and that is a college readiness experience where the students from all over the country and all over the world, they come to Mercyhurst for a 22-day program in July. They take a 3-credit college course. They live in the dorms. They eat in the cafeteria. They do a college 101 curriculum that we develop to get them acquainted to college personnel and offices. They have a social skills curriculum, and just in general, we let them try out college and see how it goes. So that's our college readiness program. Then we offer for about 60 students that attend Mercyhurst University, we offer a autism support program for those students. So they are in standardized classes. We do not really interfere and engage with their classroom work. We simply just support them outside of the classroom in their social work, academic support, independence, and emotional domains. and just kind of support them through the academic year and make them successful. And the third thing that we do, we've gotten kind of thrown into the vocational thing and this consultation. So we work with other universities and schools that want to do things similar to how we do them. We work with businesses to help them build infrastructure to hire autistic folks, and just go wherever people want to hear us talk about what we do.
Excellent. Awesome. And so I read that in 2008, Brad, you started out with 4 students, and now it has served over 60. That seems like a massive amount of growth in a shorter period of time. What does the future projections look like for this program?
Yeah, when we started, I ran the pilot for 7 students, and I taught the intro to psychology class for that before I was ever hired on as a director. And I was the only full-time person in the position for a while. So now we have 6 full-time positions in the program. We have a housing coordinator, that's a GA, 2 RAs, and right now, currently, we're serving 62 students. From a growth capacity, we're at about our limit. We have specialized autism housing. We have 60 beds. In many forms on campus, we're about at capacity. So our growth is not happening that much more than 60 at Mercyhurst, but we're already helping about a dozen other schools so that they can get programs very similar to ours, so that we can continue to try to help get more folks connected with these types of resources.
That's excellent. So you're helping a dozen other schools. Tell us about that. How did that, did they reach out to you guys because they saw what was going on at Mercyhurst, or how does that, just walk me through that.
Yeah, I think social media and electronic, when you Google higher education and autism, Mercyhurst kind of pops up. And Mercyhurst isn't the Harvards and the Yales and, the names that always pop up on things. So when people see our university pop up and say, why on a national stage are they popping up? And then they learn a little bit more about what we do, how we do it, and are intrigued. And then when people see, as you said, in 2008, there was not a lot of people doing what we do.
Right.
And so they know that we're established and we've been doing this for a while. So lots of times those schools reach out to us and say, hey, we're looking to do this same thing. Can you help us with some of the infrastructure or some of the program development? Or we've helped some schools hire their coordinators or their directors for autism initiatives. So in whatever capacity that we can help and whatever time that we have available to do that consultation stuff, we try to help other folks out, because if we can help open up that program and 10 more people can get served, then that's that much more that's getting the opportunity to go to college and be successful.
That's amazing. So from what I understand what you're saying, Brad, you guys are the groundbreakers in this area for autism, or at least one of the first.
Absolutely. Yeah. What we do. Yeah. Lots of schools have been trying different things out, but they've come and gone with models too. So for a consistent program that's running not the same thing, but kind of the same model and same philosophy. Yeah, we are one of the schools that's been doing it the longest, that we literally helped write the book on it. There wasn't a manual to follow. There wasn't a way to say, let's see what everyone else is doing. We did try to break ground and create that path, and some other folks have followed us down that path.
Excellent. Awesome. All right, I'm going to take a few seconds pause, and I want to welcome some people who joined us. We want to say hi to Rob, Shannon, Sohail, and Reagan. Thank you for joining us tonight. Again, we are here with Brad McGarry, who is the director of the Autism Initiative Program at Mercyhurst University. And please bring your questions and bring your comments. We'd love to have you as part of our discussion. And thank you again for joining us tonight. Awesome. Okay, so you have a model that you talk about specifically, Brad, for your Autism Initiative Program at Mercyhurst University, and that is the AISE, which is academic independence, social, and emotion. Is this is the foundation for your, am I saying this correctly? The foundation for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us? Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Most support programs, when we started, we realized, especially for adults with autism, they were either a social skills training mechanism where they solely focused on social skills training, or they were heavily based in academia and academic support, or they were very strongly based on teaching soft skills and independence, or it was a therapy-based strategy that worked on emotions and dealing with, those types of things. And we learned right from the beginning, you know what? We have to balance all four of those. We can't just do academics. So you're right. We started philosophically right from the beginning with these ACE domains and said, academically, independently, socially, emotionally, we have to treat all of these with the same amount of respect and the same amount of energy to make sure that when we're getting students out of college, that they're not just book smart, that they can live on their own independently. And slowly we took those 4 ACE domains and realized we needed to add a 5th. And now we have the vocational piece too, because we have to balance all 5 of those to make adults that have meaningful and sustainable employment, so that when they leave Mercyhurst, they can live on their own and live an independent and productive life.
Excellent. Okay. And what are some of I'm curious to know, what are some of the success stories that you have seen at your time in this program?
Yeah. One that just happened this past summer, I had a student that had barely left Erie County. Erie County, we're the 4th largest city in Pennsylvania, but we're a pretty small town and a pretty small county. And he had an opportunity to do an internship in downtown Washington, D.C., like 4 blocks from the White House.
Nice.
Had never been out of town much. And his parents and his grandfather works with me at Mercyhurst. And they said, Brad, this is not going to work. This is not going to happen. And he's not going to make it more than 2 or 3 days down there in that big city, and he's going to want to come home. He went down there on June 27th and just came back last Saturday and successfully completed his internship down there in DC. And it was just a huge success story because the family could not believe that we were even suggesting that this would be a good idea for him. But so that little internship gave him the exposure and the experience to realize he doesn't want to live in the basement of his parents' house the rest of his life. And I'm pretty sure his family's grateful for that, even though they were sure that we were going to give that success. But some of the other success stories, we have some of our students working at JP Morgan and have interned at the Smithsonian and working at Key Bank and Ernst Young and interning and having employment opportunities at these phenomenal companies.
Excellent.
Only getting the opportunity there, but they're staying there and they love what they're doing, and the people that are hiring them are really enjoying their productivity and what they're doing. So I think that's the biggest accomplishment, is they're getting great jobs with great companies and they're staying there.
That is excellent. And how wonderful to hear these stories, Brad. I mean, this is life-changing for many of these students, I'm sure, to get this internship at one of these big companies and to be recognized and to feel part of that corporate mission and part of that corporate culture.
One of our students is at the Smithsonian, Molly, and he identifies himself as a dinosaur geek. So he said, Brad, there's nowhere in the world that a dinosaur geek could want to intern more than the Smithsonian. And you guys gave me that opportunity to go there and do that. My understanding is he did quite well there. Yeah.
That is so wonderful. I love that, Brad. And and that goes into the next part. You guys were part of the Business of Autism film.
Yeah.
And I believe that young man you were talking about, that gentleman you were talking about, he was in the film, correct?
Correct.
Was
yeah,
he did.
He did not have a speaking role. He did get interviewed by the production team.
Okay.
His interview, I guess, didn't make the cut. We only had one student. But yeah, Brandon is in the film, and I have permission to talk about him. And,
Oh, good.
so we can just go ahead and share.
Yeah.
Brandon is in the film. He was featured on our vocational exposure experience in New York City, and is in the film, This Business of Autism, a couple times. Yeah.
Awesome. And so tell us about that. Tell us about the Business of Autism, Brad, how you got connected with that, how you guys were part of that film.
Yeah. So the story goes that we were partnered up with SAP, and they were doing an employment initiative, and they were interested in what we were doing. We were liking the work they were doing. In the initial stages, they had a couple employment opportunities for some of our students to go to SAP and learn some vocational training that would make them more employable. And that got us connected in with Palo Alto, California, which is where SAP is, or has one of their headquarters as well. In Palo Alto, that connected us with the San Francisco and the Bay Area Employment Group. And Stephen was actually the producer of This Business of Autism.
Yeah.
Was filming and interviewing out in San Francisco when we were at a meeting there, and he heard somebody say something about Merciers, and he said, "What is Merciers? I keep hearing about it." And so I introduced myself and I talked to him a little bit out there, and then he said, "Brad, could I come to Merciers University and learn what you guys do and maybe follow you on one of these vocational trips?" So they also followed myself and 10 students to New York City, and kind of got a little bit of that experience and what we provide for our students. And the rest is history, and that's our small little part in his project.
That's fantastic. Awesome. So you guys got your name on the big screen for their movie. That's awesome.
Yeah, for our students, that was really cool that they actually got to see their face up on the big screen. So they were pretty impressed by that.
I can absolutely imagine. Well, it's the movie itself, This Business of Autism, is talking specifically about employment and the changing dynamics of that, and why it's so crucial here in America for people to be gainfully employed. And so that's a nice tie-in with what your mission is.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
And they're doing a very fine business too. So they're not running a business that's a charity that need to hire autistic people because it's the right thing to do.
Right. They
see the strength, and the autistic mind works in certain ways that makes it very productive, and sometimes more productive than our brains in the neurotypical world. So they're maximizing that and making a very successful business, doing it the way that it should be done.
Excellent. That's awesome. All right, I'm going to stop again. I want to welcome Julie, who just joined us. Julie, thank you for being with us tonight. Again, we are here with Brad McGarry, the director of the Autism Initiative Program at Mercyhurst University. Brad, I want to go back to something. Your 5 boys you have. You tell me the connection between your being a father and the development of the program development.
Absolutely.
Because I know that there's an intertwining there.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the program development, I have to say, before I was even a part of the project, there was folks at Mercyhurst that were developing the program and the autism initiative at Mercyhurst. But when I came in, I was an executive director of a small social service agency, and I have 20 years mental health experience and program development experience. But I think what really intrigued me for the role of helping to build the program is many folks at Mercyhurst knew that I had a son with disabilities, and I had a strong passion for giving him the best opportunities that I could provide for him. And when Connor was first diagnosed at 18 months, the doctor said he's never going to walk, never going to talk, he's not going to be social, and he may not have purpose in his life. And I saw that as a 4-digit code. And I said, I am going to break that code. As a father, I don't have many skill sets for it, but I have a passion to do it. And today Connor walks, and he's social, and he has purpose. He's not quite talking yet, But I took that 4-digit code and said, that's my goal and my passion to break it. And when we were developing the AIM program, I said, it's the same thing. All of these students have a 4-digit code, and I have a 4-year time frame to break that code. And if I can break that code, I can help them live independently and be employable. And so a lot with what I learned from Connor, I just translated it into the autism world and said, these students I'm working with high functioning autism, what's their obstacle or what's their code? And how can I develop and implement programming that's going to help them break their code in this 4-year cycle that we're in?
Excellent. That's so this is a personal mission of yours as well as professional. This hits close to home.
Good. Yeah.
No, I'm saying for you, it sounds like this hits close to home for you.
It absolutely does, and it's like the little boy on the beach throwing all the starfish back in, and the guy says, well, how do you possibly think you can make a difference? And he says, well, I made a difference for that one, and
Absolutely.
Started with Connor, just make a difference in his world. And then the first 7 students we worked with, let's make a difference for them. And then the next family, then the next group. And then, and like you said, that's really, I gave up my career as an executive director to have this mission. And let's just see how many lives we can touch. And if we can make a difference for one kid at one moment, then that's what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah.
I love that. I have goosebumps. That is so awesome, Brad. I love that. Brad, I looked through your website, the Raise the Roof Off of Autism, and was captivated by all the incredible work that you're doing that. Can you tell us about that program?
Sure, I'll tell you briefly. It's actually funny. Back in 2010, I said, I'm going to develop a program to get autistic kids off of video screens. And that was my whole goal.
Nice. That's a good one.
And we said, let's get them out of their apartment. Let's get them out in nature. And they said, none of these kids like nature. They don't like hiking trails. They don't like, so I needed a big carrot at the end. So we developed Conquer the Canyon with AIM with a man named Gene Taylor that runs the Walking Connection out in Phoenix, Arizona. And Gene and I developed this project where it became an autism awareness campaign in Erie. And then the kids actually, at the end, they got this big carrot where they got to go hiking in the Grand Canyon. And they loved it. They loved the fitness component of it, the awareness part, the trip to Arizona. So now every other year we go out to Arizona and we hike in Sedona and the Grand Canyon and give these students that experience at the end of the autism campaign that we do. That program raises awareness for the lack of vocational resources for folks on the autism spectrum. So we started with that, and Raise the Roof came out of that. The same gentleman, Gene Taylor, contacted me, and he said, Brad, that Conquer the Canyon thing went so great. Do you want to do another one? And I said, what? And he said, you want to climb to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Africa? He said, it's the roof of Africa. Do you want to go up to the roof of Africa? And I said, well, I don't want to take this up there. Like, I don't know if I want to do it either. And, so in 2015, actually on February 14th, 2015, myself, Gene, and one other gentleman summited Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Africa at 19,341 feet. I remember every single one of them. I don't know if I would do it again. But it was great because Raise the Roof for Autism, again, took it to an international level. And when I came back, the students said, what was Africa like? What was the mountain like? What was everything? And I said, guys, if you want to go, let's go. So in 2017, we took 13 folks on a second version of Raise the Roof for Autism. We spent 4 days in a village in Arusha, working with the elders and the educators about autism and how to work with those students. We spent 4 days on the mountain. We didn't go all the way up, but we spent 4 days on the mountain and 4 days on safari. So that's Raise the Roof for Autism.
So fun. That sounds incredible. And what are your, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
What are your future journeys. Where are you guys going next with us?
In June, we're going to Tokyo, Japan, and Jakarta, Indonesia.
Oh my goodness.
6 to 8 students with us there, and there's talk right now on whether we're going to try to summit Mount Fuji in Tokyo. But it's an 8 trip this coming June.
That is incredible. That's awesome. And how does one apply for this? Like, how would someone get involved with that, Brad?
For Conquer the Canyon, Raise the Roof, or this Indonesia trip, I think going to raisetherooforautism.com. It's a simple website that we put together. It's a landing page for people that want to know more about what we're doing. So we have a newsletter there. There's no commitment. There's no, it's not a marketing thing. I don't make money off of any of this stuff, but raisetherooforautism.com is a great place for people to go and just check out what's happening next, and to get our newsletter. And the Raise the Roof for Autism Facebook page too has a lot of what we're doing at Mercyhurst and about these trips. So if anyone's interested, that's where they can go and take a peek, and we'll get them more information.
Awesome. That sounds great. We also, okay, I'm going to take another pause here for a second.
Sure.
We want to say hi to Garrett, who just joined us. And we have a question for you, Brad.
Yes.
It's actually still, all right, here we go. Is there a travel prep course you have that students take to prepare them for long trip flights? Or has that been an issue, particularly involving other cultures? That's a great question.
A great question. And let's forget the long plane rides and the international travel. I'll hit that in a second. Every year we take our students to New York City, which is one of the loudest, craziest, sensory-driven cities in all of the United States. So there is some travel work and some things that we have to do just to get people through Times Square in New York City. You know, some of our students have never been to a big city like that.
Sure.
Or had the sensory stimulation within a city like that. So before we just pack our students up and throw them in a van or a bus or a plane, they have to go through our career path curriculum, and they have to be at a certain point that we feel they're ready to do that. They're also meeting with top executives at these major companies, so they have to be ready and prepped. But with that said, yes, we do have Phoenix. We fly out to Conquer the Canyon. Africa was, I think, 7-8 hours to Europe, and then 7-8 hours from there. So we do have some training that they have to do where they're used to traveling for a certain duration of time. We obviously have on culture. In Asia, you know, there's a lot with not eating with your left hand, and, you know, like all these little things. And when they're meeting with tribal leaders in Africa, they have to act a certain way, and there's certain customs and rituals that they have to follow. So we have all kinds of little social skills training modules that address those types of things.
Awesome. Okay. I can imagine that would be quite a difficult feat. But how do these students do? Like, when you take them?
They do great.
That's fantastic.
I had a meeting out at the headquarters of Microsoft in Seattle, Washington, and I asked if I could bring one of my students. So usually we prep them pretty good, but he's been in the program a couple years, and I've gotten to know him well. And as we were driving up to Cleveland to fly on the plane, he said, "By the way, what's it like to fly on a plane?" And I went, "Oh my goodness."
Oh no.
No, you've never been on a plane? I said, "We're flying to Seattle, Washington. It's like all the way across the country." So he got the advanced version of our curriculum, but he did well. He did well on
Good
the plane.
for him. That's fantastic. That's awesome. So I have to ask though, for the Raise the Roof for Autism, do you guys take volunteers? to go on these trips?
I had 32 volunteers and 4 students. Yeah. My wife actually went with us on that, and we said this thing. We try to set it up where the volunteers, the chaperones, whatever we want to call them, get a little bit of a break because they're helping us out. But my wife said, I'd love that opportunity if I could. And I said, well, you're just going to have to fundraise with the rest of us.
Right.
Brad McGarry.
Not cheap to fly to Africa.
So we did some fundraising. We went right in with the students, lead by example, you know, and we were able to raise the funds and then contribute in the rest. So absolutely, we definitely have that. If we get a sponsor or something from, you know, some big company and they're willing to have us take 5 free sponsors, Molly, I'll give you a holler.
Hey!
Other than that, we're all in it together, and you're more than welcome to sign up.
Oh my gosh, it sounds like a dream come true. I'd love to. Let me in if you get some kind of
Absolutely.
Sponsor.
Absolutely.
I'm going to stop again. I want to welcome Shannon and Kelly, who just joined us. And we have a few questions for you here, Brad. Again, all right, so Rob asks you, Brad, he says, I love the code analogy. Can you talk about examples of how students parse through situations differently?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of polarization on the autism spectrum. And I have to share that what I deal with at home with Connor is much different than what I deal with at the university. You know,
Sure.
I work with a lot of very high functioning, very intelligent, very intellectual and articulate young men and women at Mercyhurst. But it's interesting. They always say if you meet somebody on the spectrum, you've met one person on the spectrum. So to say it bluntly, one whole group, I have to teach them social initiation and how to engage in the discussion. And then a whole nother group, I'm teaching them social restraint and decision making. So I'm literally trying to get this group to talk the whole time while I'm telling this group that they need to be quiet and restrain themselves.
Right.
So we really have to try to set it up where we can do group work, but it really has to be individualized, because if we have that introvert, we have to work on that symptomology much more than the autism. You know, it's not the autistic symptomology that's making them shy and quiet. They're just a shy and quiet person that's introverted.
Mm-hmm.
And some other folks, we try to take those visible symptomologies and try to address those. Some of what we do is completely invisible and working on the executive functioning and those types of things. So I have 62 people in my program, and I have almost 62 individualized plans on how to address those. And
oh, wow.
So the students work through them at their pace, and we really have to try to individualize what we're doing. And it's neat, that code concept, maybe taking them to New York City and having that exposure is the breakthrough, or getting an A on that math test when they're horrible at math. You know, for each student, it seems like there's an entirely different road, and what they classify as success on that road can be completely different. And that's what's kind of fun to watch when they hit those little victories and celebrate them, and you see that little blossoming of that butterfly kind of popping out. So I don't know if that answers Rob's question or not, but it's very individualized and it's very unique to each person.
Of course. We have another question. Kelly asks, how do you balance advocating in a busy lifestyle? Good question, Kelly.
Yeah. Connor has a service dog, and I remember going to a restaurant once, and they were not going to allow our family in because we had a dog. We were trying to explain to them that Connor's service dog is trained. She is a certified service dog and had the cards and everything. And basically, if they were open to the public, they needed to allow us into this restaurant. So it was fun because I had to take my kids out to eat. We were trying to do a family thing, but I said, I got to throw a little advocacy in here, because this is a learning moment for many individuals, including the manager of this restaurant, and we're going to have to go into business mode here and advocate. So the neat thing is my kids get to go with me. Lots of speeches I do, Connor's involved with. Connor, as far as I know, is 15 years old and has never said a word, but his voice has been heard around the world. So we really try to make it a family thing. I don't always get my kids to Africa, but if I'm, driving nearby and doing a speaking engagement, or last year we took them up to Notre Dame and they had fun when we were doing some stuff up there. So we really mix it in, and I think the kids see that it's my mission, it's my passion, and they get to see parts of the world and cities that they normally wouldn't see. So we try to blend it all together as much as we can and make it work. And so far it seems to be working okay.
Good for you guys, because it is a balance. I mean, I find advocacy in my life, Brad, pretty much consumes me. I have not found that balance yet, maybe because I'm also so new to the whole thing, but it's definitely a balance between.
Yeah, and I don't think I do as much as you do. I think I do more of the motivation, the consultant, I go a lot of places and plant seeds. I'm not, you're cultivating them and making them grow. And that's a lot of the advocacy. It seems like more of the mission. And I just kind of look upstairs and say, tell me where I'm supposed to go. I kind of see myself as a seed planter, that I'm supposed to go in and plant a couple seeds, and then someone else in that area is supposed to help cultivate those and make them grow. So
right.
The planter, you're the farmer.
We all have different purposes and missions in this game, don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Brad, we have another question for you. Someone wants to know, what inspires you?
I don't always want to talk about outcomes, but it's for the summer program, when we see those kids for 22 days, and no matter where they're from, their parents come back to pick them up 22 days later, and they said, what happened to the kid that I dropped off? Recognize this man in front of me, or this young lady. So I think part of the motivation is having that kid successfully achieve that internship in DC when almost everybody didn't think he could do it. And that one student saying, can you believe I not only made it through the interview, I got the job, So I think the motivation is taking these little kids their freshman year and releasing these butterflies at their senior year, seeing that growth and knowing we had a small little piece in that. I think that's the motivation that just keeps us going and kind of gets us through those days.
I'm tearing up over here, Brad.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. That's absolutely beautiful, and how rewarding that you get to witness that, and you get to be part of these people's lives.
Absolutely.
And it's a game changer. It's
fun. Yeah, I mean, it's why I do what I do, and I've been doing it for a long time.
Forgive me over here. That's beautiful to see that transformation take place in these lives, and know that you had something to do with that.
A little piece, yeah.
Little piece, right? Well, it's going to make a big impact on these individuals. So the other thing I want to talk to you, and you talked a little bit about it, is the employment aspect. This is a hot topic right now in the disability world, because we are introducing new laws and we are phasing out laws. I talked a little bit about this last week, the Fair Labor and Trade Law, which is still in effect, which states that people with disabilities can be paid less than their peers. So this is a big topic, and if you could just walk through what your program is doing specifically to help people gain employment after they leave Mercyhurst University. You've talked a little bit about that already with some of the internships. But
one thing that we're doing, we have a full-time career path coordinator. His entire job is to try to get these students prepped and ready for employment. And he starts with them their freshman year and then has more and more intensity working with them. But when we got started, we jumped in at just the right moment, and we've worked with some phenomenal folks at different companies. And when you talk about Thorkiel Sohn at Special Listern, almost all of the major projects that started 6, 7, 8 years ago, his name kept popping up on all these big, programs at SAP and Ernst Young and Microsoft. And so we just started reaching out to lots of those folks and saying, hey, we're the feeding pool that's trying to feed what you're trying to do. So can we talk with you about what you're looking for, how you're interviewing these folks, and how you're building infrastructure? Because what we found is corporate America was doing a good job in interviewing folks on the autism spectrum, maybe even hiring folks on the autism spectrum. But once they got them there, they were doing nothing to sustain them and support them while they were employed there. So we early on got in and said, we can be a feeder, but we can also help you build the infrastructure of what you need to maintain these employees. And they said, well, how can you do that? And we said, well, we can let you ask them, ask them what they need to keep things moving and to keep them sustainable. So we just built those relationships. And I don't want to say that we are friends with everyone, but all those major companies I just mentioned, and the Smithsonian and KPMG and Broad Futures and Integrate and all of these other great folks that are doing great work with autism employment learned about us and liked what we were doing, and we shared some ideas with them and they shared ideas with us, and we all kind of came together to work on that. So long story short, I feel Mercyhurst and our students are right in the middle of the largest autism employment initiative in history. And we're in a really good spot. And all I want out of that is give my students a chance. Let them have face time with you. Give them the opportunity. And if they meet your expectations, then obviously hire them. And if they don't, let me know what we need to do to get them more ready. And we'll send them back to you when we think they're there. And
excellent.
So it's a very exciting time for us. It's been a great piece to us. And we've just been trying to adapt and figure out more partners that we can connect in with. And Wells Fargo just came to Mercyhurst at the end of last year and said, hey, we're doing this, and we're partnering with Mercyhurst, and we're going to make this happen. So when companies like that are coming to you and saying, can you help us get the word out, it's pretty exciting.
That's fantastic. And here locally in Richmond, Brad, we have a program called the Next Move program, and they work with people who are adults. And I know that Wells Fargo is a big partner with them as well. So it sounds to me like Wells Fargo wants to have that, is trying on that national level to build that inclusive environment and to really embrace the disability community, which is smart. Because I just read an article the other day about how 1 in 4 Americans have a type of disability.
Absolutely.
So it affects everyone. And I can't imagine in 2018 why any company would want to not jump on board and be part of this, because it's transforming the whole country right now. I think we're seeing this wonderful movement go on in front of our eyes that is embracing and that is it's affirming the disability community, and
Absolutely.
It's exciting to watch.
And I think it's the first time that we're actually embracing this community and say, let's focus on their abilities, not their disabilities.
Absolutely, their abilities, right?
ADHD or autism, right. And look at all the things that could go wrong with that employee. I think it's very exciting that for the first time, I think in history, we're saying, wait a minute, the autistic brain functions more efficiently this way, and this way. So wouldn't that make them better at this type of job? Exactly. That's what we're trying to do.
Yes.
And an ADHD person, yeah, their thoughts are all over the place, but put them on your creative development team, and they're going to come up with ideas that are going to blow your mind. And I think many companies are realizing, so we can take this disability and we can use it to our advantage and make them successful employees. Exactly.
Right.
Like, well, that's an easy equation. Why didn't we think of that before?
Yeah.
So that's
absolutely
too. It's not just a disability employment. It's an abilities employment program where we're saying, let's build off of your strengths, and you're going to be happy and we're going to be happy. And it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. No, I think it's awesome. And you're right. It is see the ability, not the disability.
Mm-hmm.
And that key phrase I hear so much. I am able. That's another key phrase that I hear a lot. The ability. And it's crucial because you're right, because everyone does have those gifts and talents. They just have to be put in the right setting to use them. And once they are, they thrive.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So I'm right on board. Again, I'm going to take a quick pause. I want to welcome Mike, who just joined us. And we have another question for you, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of mentoring does the program have between students, freshmen to seniors? It's a great question.
Excellent question. Yeah. I didn't really talk too much about the on-campus AIM stuff, and our brochure, I think, is on our website. So I can kind of share that. But we mandate that our students participate in a peer mentor program, and they have to meet with that mentor a minimum of 4 hours per month. So they can meet much more than that, but their requirement is 4 hours a month. And again, on those ACE domains, we talk with our students and say, how do you want us to match you up? Do you want us to help you academically? And that peer mentor could be a senior in your major that knows the curriculum and can support you academically. Do you want just a good social network that we can tie you in with a peer mentor that socially can work with you? Or do you want those independent skills or organizational skills, executive functioning skills, all of that kind of stuff? So we let them connect in with that. We also implement the peers model that's out of California. It's a evidence-based 15-week model that we implement with our students. It's an evidence-based program that's been around over 30 years, I think, and we have some staff members certified in that. So we use that as peer. And the last thing that we do from a peer mentor standpoint, we call it autism support networking. And Mercyhurst has tutors, they have academic and content tutors. But what we found is sometimes our freshmen need an autistic mind to translate whatever they need translated into autism. So we'll have seniors in our autism program that work with our freshmen, and it's neat. No. You're thinking of that like an auditory learner, and you're thinking of that like a neurotypical. You are a visual learner and your brain's autistic, so you have to think of it this way. And okay, I get it. So that autism support networking is really what I call autism translation. Our seniors can do something for our younger students that we can't do, and they work with them and say, I kind of understand this from an autistic perspective, and I can explain it to you to try to help you over this obstacle too. So those are the three major ways that we do kind of peer mentoring and use our older students to work with the younger students.
That's awesome. I love that. And I'm sure that is breaking down walls in itself at your campus between the neurotypical. I mean, like, boom. That's awesome.
I can tell one more story there too.
Yeah,
about
please
breaking down walls. One of our AIM students, put it this way, one of our lacrosse players, our lacrosse team is a Division I athletic team, and very competitive and well known at the university. One of our lacrosse students needed a tutor for one of his classes, and it was pretty important because he was one of the big guys on the team, and he needed academic support. And it was really neat because one of our autism students helped him through some of the academic stuff that he needed. And there's a picture in our brochure that's an emulation of this moment I saw where you have all the athletes at the athlete table in the cafeteria, and our autism student is walking by, and as he walks by, he gets a fist bump all the way down the table because that team knew that he was one of the reasons that one of their players was eligible and able to play. So when the photographer came for our brochure, we actually connected that picture in. I don't know if you can see, but not really how it happened, but they said, what kind of you want in the So talk about breaking down walls. Our students are not the ones, not to stereotype, but our students are not the ones that hang out with the star athletes on campus. And the Mercyhurst wrestling team helped our students move into AIM housing this past weekend, where their players wanted to do something and they came and, hey, you're in my class, I know you. And, you know, they were helping the families move these students into autism housing, but they also connect them on a different level. So again, just breaking down some really cool walls that we just didn't think was going to be possible.
This is inclusion. This is what it's about. And again, I find myself getting teary-eyed because these are amazing stories, Brad. I mean, you have to feel so proud at Mercyhurst of what you guys are doing. Ah, I love it.
We're giving them, the students are doing it. We're giving them
the opportunities.
We're planting the seeds that's allowing them to do that.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. No, but I'm saying the fact that they have these opportunities to connect, they have an opportunity to step outside of themselves and to connect with someone that they might not connect with otherwise. Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. So I love it. So at the very basic program here, how can one apply for the Autism Initiative program at Mercyhurst? What is the criteria?
The first criteria is you actually have to be accepted to the university first. So a lot of people say, do you have different admission criteria? And I say, no, I don't. And they say, why not? And I say, because I want my students to have the same exact degree that everyone else that leaves Mercyhurst. So
awesome.
To be accepted to Mercyhurst University first, and then you can apply to the AIM program. Once you apply, we ask for supporting documentation. And then once you get through that phase of the application process, we actually have a face-to-face interview on campus. And if not, we can do it electronically, but we like to do a face-to-face interview. And then we typically make our selections. Last year, we had our selections made by March 1st. I think this year, we're actually going to be sooner than that. So if anyone apply for this coming fall or this summer program, I would say it would be safe to say you should have your application in by October, November at the latest.
Okay, so coming up.
To connect in with the fall 2019 cohort or the summer program this July.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So anyone who's interested out there, make sure you get those applications in soon, and good luck. Awesome. Brad, is there anything here that I haven't covered yet that you wanted to cover?
I don't think so. I think the main thing, and I kind of said it at the movie premiere, I think you were there and present, but just anyone out there that's thinking they want to accomplish or just have a little idea that they want to turn into something big. I know when the founders of our program developed our program, they had no idea that we'd have students starring at the United Nations and, you know, lots of things we've accomplished. And I'm just an ordinary guy at an ordinary university trying to make a difference in the world. So
good for you.
Big message that I like to say is there's no highfalutin abilities or anything that we did at Mercyhurst other than having a little passion, a little dream, and a little creativity to try to build things and make things work. So anybody out there that's trying to make a difference, just do it. And if you help 2 or 3 people, then it makes it all worth it.
That's awesome. Good advice. You know, one of the things I've noticed after starting Project Just Like You is you were talking about how some of your students are going to the United Nations and they're speaking. Project Just Like You started off with like, look at Jacob or look at whoever and see how they're just like anybody else. But what I've realized about the disability community as a whole is these people, I'm not trying to separate it, but as a whole, they do incredible things. I mean, it's more like Project Amazing because I look at these people, I look at what they're doing with their lives, and I've highlighted so many people who have laws named after them, or they have done amazing things like you're talking about the UN, like going to the UN or NBC Nightly News. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I'm finding out it's more people than not that just do these incredible things. And it's such an affirmation to their character and to their strength and to who they are and their determination. And it touches me every time. And it gives me so much hope because I look at my son, Jacob, as I'm sure you do with your son, Connor, and you see the amazing possibilities that are in front of them and what they can do with their lives and who they can inspire. And I'm really always touched by that. And it's empowering because I think that our kids' futures are so bright in 2018 and the opportunities that lie in front of them are incredible.
Absolutely.
And it's a good time to be alive. If you have some type of, I mean, it's just a good time to be alive in general. And
yeah, and there's other things in this world where it doesn't make it good. And I said, you know, really what I'm in the business of is selling hope, you know, for independence, for careers, for jobs, for people that never thought their kid was going to go to college and be successful. That's what we do. And
right.
can offer that hope to someone. I don't want to give a false sense of hope.
Right.
I know my son Connor will probably never be in AIM, and I'm okay with that. And I accept that and understand that. But if I can give that hope and that dream to someone else, I think that's all we're trying to do, you know, every one of us. And if we can make that happen, then that's just a little extra bonus in what we're doing.
Absolutely. Yes, but Connor, even though he may not be at AIM, and that's totally fine, what has inspired you as a director, Brad, he has that's already a ripple effect to all the other lives that are touching. So it's all interconnected. I
agree.
And it all has a purpose.
We call Connor the mayor. Every speech he waves to the pretty girls, he hugs the little babies, and so don't let Connor kid you either.
Right.
Connor can silence a room faster than I ever could with anything I'm so, and I'm envious because he doesn't say a word, and he could have an audience of 350 people and have them dead silent and mesmerized and
I believe it.
To say a word. So
I believe it. That's a gift.
Absolutely.
Good for him. That's wonderful. Well, Brad, we're wrapping things up now. And so now we want to do our drawing. So we would like you to pick a number between 1 and 25, and that'll be our lucky winner of.
Okay. How about 12?
12. Okay. All right. So I'm waiting for Brian to tell me who this is. Okay, drum roll. Hold on. The winner is, come on, drum roll, Rob Targos. Rob, congratulations. You're a winner tonight.
Congrats, Rob.
So Rob, if you could just email me, message me your address, and I'll get that on over to you, Brad.
Absolutely. And shirt size would be wonderful for Rob, so we can get.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. We'll get the shirt size. Oh, also, Rob. No, sorry. Hold on. Okay. Brad, Stephen Mackey wants to say hi to you.
Oh, is he listening? Awesome.
Yeah, he apparently just joined us in. So
very good. Well, tell Steve I said hi as well. Yes.
Will do. Awesome. Well, congratulations, Rob. Thank you again, Brad. We were so glad to have you tonight. Thank you for taking your time and being part of our show tonight. And I hope that you had a good time on this show. I enjoyed having you tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Molly. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And just keep doing amazing things up there. That's awesome. I love what you guys are doing at Mercyhurst, and it's just so incredible. And now that you guys are inspiring other colleges with a similar format in their programs, this is a ripple effect. And it's really exciting to witness this and see where it goes.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
We'll ride in the wave and see where it takes us. So
there you go. That's right. All right. Well, thank you again. And thank you for your time tonight. And thank you to everyone who joined us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Good night.